The Galactic Council ignored. Alien warned, "Do not attack the humans, they will hunt." The Galactic Council chamber stretched endlessly, a vast circular hall of polished metal and soft, glowing lights. Delegates from countless alien civilizations filled the floating platforms that spiraled upward, each species wearing their customs, colors, and symbols proudly. Voices buzzed in dozens of tones, a chorus of languages that resonated like music and chaos all at once. At the center, a long, translucent podium stood empty, awaiting the next speaker. From the outer rim of the chamber, a delegation of Erythians stepped forward. Their forms were tall and slender, skin shimmering faintly with shifting patterns. Eyes bright with urgency scanned the hall as they prepared to address the council. Whispered curiosity passed through the chamber. Few had ever seen an Erythian express such tension. The lead Erythian, a figure named Thalris, began to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Thalris said, voice calm yet firm. "We come with a warning that cannot be ignored. A species known as humans has expanded into space at a pace you may underestimate. They are unique. They adapt, they endure, and if provoked, they hunt. Not with brute force, not with predictable tactics, but with persistence and cunning beyond your expectations." A murmur ran through the council. Some delegates exchanged glances, others tilted their heads in polite curiosity. One of the larger-scaled delegates snorted, a sound meant to signal amusement. "Surely you exaggerate," it said in a low rumble. "These humans are young, primitive in technology, and disorganized at best. How could they possibly threaten any of us?" Thalris' gaze did not waver. "Do not judge by appearances. Humans have qualities that cannot be measured simply by comparing technology levels. They study, they plan, and they adapt faster than any species I have observed. If attacked, they will find ways to turn even the smallest opportunity into a decisive advantage. We beg you to reconsider any plans of aggression." The room hummed with chatter. The council considered themselves wise, experienced in the politics of the galaxy. Many of them had faced species far older and more formidable than humans. Yet there was something in Thalris' warning that seemed insistent, like a faint vibration under a calm sea. A representative from the Xanthari Collective, a species of crystalline beings, finally spoke. "We appreciate your concern, Thalris, but humans are a minor presence on the edge of explored space. It would be a waste of resources to heed caution over a fledgling race." Thalris shook its head. "Minor presence does not equal minor risk. Ignoring this warning may seem convenient today, but it could cost civilizations dearly tomorrow." The debate continued for hours. Representatives questioned, dismissed, and debated. Yet no one dared truly challenge the collective assumption. Humans were young, fragile, and easy to overlook. The Erythians left the council chamber with a quiet unease, aware that their warning had likely been recorded, noted, and forgotten within the day. Far beyond the glittering halls of the council, humans continued their work quietly in space. Colonies orbited distant planets, mining resources, studying new stars, and communicating across vast distances with a network of satellites. Life for humans was not glamorous or spectacular, it was persistent. Engineers and scientists worked side by side, facing obstacles with improvisation and determination. It began with small anomalies. Mining equipment malfunctioned in subtle ways, sensors picked up unusual readings, and data streams occasionally vanished without explanation. At first, human engineers assumed natural interference or cosmic events. But as the disruptions became more consistent, a pattern emerged. Someone or something was monitoring their colonies. The humans responded as they always did, methodically. Teams of engineers, communication specialists, and researchers gathered to analyze the anomalies. They ran simulations, traced signals, and tested every hypothesis. Slowly, it became clear that the interference was deliberate. The humans were being observed, studied, perhaps even challenged, but not in a way that could be easily confronted. Captain Aaron Vilas, a leader among the human colonies, stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above one of the outlying planets. Her eyes swept across the starfield, thinking not of confrontation, but of strategy. "They're watching," she said softly to her team. "But observation can be traced. They will leave footprints, and humans, we don't miss footprints." The team smiled. It was not arrogance, but confidence built from countless experiences. Humanity had a way of turning disadvantages into advantages. The unknown, the uncertain, the unpredictable, these were the arenas where humans thrived. By the end of the first week, the human task force had identified several hidden monitoring stations. None were large, none were overtly threatening. Yet each one contained enough information to understand human colonies, routines, and resources. And so the hunt began, not in anger, not in haste, but with patience. Every signal was catalogued, every anomaly mapped. Humans began to leave subtle traces of misinformation, small clues designed to mislead whoever was watching. The aliens believed they were studying humans. Humans believed they were guiding the observers into a controlled scenario, teaching them lessons the aliens would not understand until it was too late. The Arithians' warning echoed in the minds of those who remembered it. Humans will hunt. The first part ended with a simple, almost understated realization. Humanity, small and underestimated, had already begun to turn the tables. The hunt was not about weapons. It was about persistence, observation, and intellect. The galaxy might dismiss humans now, but the humans were already preparing for the moment when their true abilities would be revealed. Humans moved quietly but decisively. The hidden alien monitoring stations were not destroyed. They were studied, traced, and turned into tools. Every signal, every anomaly was now part of a larger plan. Captain Erin Vilas and her team knew that patience was their greatest weapon. Unlike most civilizations, humans did not rely on overwhelming force. They relied on observation, learning, and clever strategy. The first step was to understand the aliens' patterns. The task force mapped each monitoring station, tracing how data flowed between them, noting response times, and recording every detail of the observers' behavior. They discovered that the aliens were cautious, methodical, and predictable in ways humans could exploit. For every move the aliens made, humans planned 3 in return. The colonies themselves became part of the strategy. Engineers designed systems that could subtly mislead the observers, creating false readings or simulated events. Satellites transmitted fake signals that suggested resource-rich zones where none existed. Communication channels carried hints of activity that were never real. Every observation point became a classroom, teaching the aliens lessons in patience, misdirection, and human ingenuity. Meanwhile, Captain Vilas coordinated teams across multiple star systems. Each colony played a role in a complex network of information. Humans learned quickly how to synchronize actions across vast distances. They devised a way to use the aliens' own curiosity against them, leading the observers deeper into carefully constructed traps of misinformation. The Arithians' warning had proved accurate in subtle ways. Humans were hunters, but their hunting was cerebral, not violent. Every decision was calculated. Every action served a larger purpose. And the aliens, confident in their superiority, did not notice how quickly humans were gaining control of the situation. After several weeks of observation and strategic adjustments, the humans took the next step. They introduced what Captain Vilas called the maze. Entire colonies were temporarily cloaked or moved slightly out of position using advanced orbital adjustments. Resources and signals were rearranged in ways that appeared natural, but were actually carefully designed patterns. Alien observers, thinking they were monitoring human behavior, were actually following paths laid by the humans themselves. Across the galaxy, the aliens began to notice anomalies in their data. Signals conflicted. Patterns contradicted expectations. They attempted to adapt, but humans had anticipated these adjustments. Every attempt to correct their understanding led them further into the maze. The aliens grew frustrated, but the humans remained calm. Frustration in the enemy was a tool, not a problem. Captain Vilas walked through the corridors of her orbital station, thinking about the elegance of the plan. "They assume we are simple," she said to her team. "They assume we react like other species, but humans are persistent. We do not forget. We do not give up. We will adapt faster than they can anticipate." The human task force continued to feed false trails. They allowed small, controlled leaks of information, fake colony locations, falsified resource estimates, fabricated expedition routes. Every deception was designed to draw the aliens into patterns the humans could predict, and slowly the plan worked. Alien monitoring stations began to report conflicting data to their home systems. Their interpretations of human activity became unreliable. Decisions based on these reports started to fail, not because humans attacked, but because humans controlled the information. In one particularly clever move, humans created a network of decoy satellites that mimicked human activity. These satellites moved, emitted signals, and even simulated colony construction. Alien observers tracked them eagerly, unaware that the real human colonies were operating normally in completely different locations. The decoys led the aliens into a complex web of misdirection, teaching them the limits of prediction. The patience of the human teams was remarkable. They did not rush or act impulsively. The true human strength was in endurance. They could wait longer, observe more carefully, and adapt continuously. Every week of careful strategy reinforced the lesson. Humans were unpredictable not because they were chaotic, but because they were intelligent, resourceful, and persistent. Eventually, the aliens recognized the failure. Their data was unreliable. Their predictions had failed repeatedly. The species that had dismissed humanity as weak and primitive now faced a civilization that had mastered the art of strategy without weapons, confrontation, or open conflict. The first formal communication arrived from the alien leadership, requesting a meeting. The tone was respectful, cautious, and slightly humbled. Humans, represented by Captain Vilas and her team, agreed. They were not seeking revenge or dominance. They sought understanding and cooperation on their own terms. When the delegation met, the alien representatives asked, "How did you achieve this without open combat?" Vilas smiled. "We hunted with patience, observation, and intellect. We learned from you, but we did not mimic. We adapted, we planned, and we endured." The aliens were silent for a long moment. It was clear that they had underestimated humans, as the Erythians had warned. They realized that the species they had considered primitive possessed a strength that could not be measured by weapons, technology, or brute force. The humans' success was subtle but profound. No battles had been fought, no lives were lost. Yet respect had been earned across the galaxy. The lesson was clear. Underestimating humans was a grave mistake. Persistence, intelligence, and adaptability could outmaneuver even the most powerful species. The final weeks of the operation saw the aliens retreat from aggressive observation and begin formal diplomatic discussions. Humans, cautious but confident, set conditions for cooperation and exploration. They would participate in galactic affairs, but on terms that recognized their capabilities and ingenuity. Captain Vilas looked out at the stars from the observation deck. The colonies continued their work quietly, steadily, preparing for a future that humans would face with the same persistence that had always defined them. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Humans were hunters, not of destruction, but of challenge. And in the end, the hunters had already won. The galaxy had begun to notice the humans in ways no one expected. Where other species relied on sheer numbers or overwhelming technology, humans relied on observation, creativity, and patience. Their colonies flourished, not through conquest, but through clever adaptation to harsh environments. Every planet, asteroid, and station had become a testament to human resilience. Captain Aaron Vilas moved quietly through the central command hub of the largest colony. Screens flickered with streams of data, satellite movements, communication logs, resource allocations, all arranged in a system designed to anticipate and guide the next moves of alien observers. Every alert, every anomaly was cataloged and turned into actionable intelligence. It had been months since the first warning from the Erythians, and humans had not only avoided conflict, they had mastered the art of strategic patience. Alien surveillance teams were still active, but they were now following trails humans had intentionally laid. Each observation point led to a puzzle designed to test the aliens' adaptability. Humans never attacked, they only guided, misled, and adapted. Aaron's deputy, Lyra Chen, pointed to a cluster of signals on the display. "They're rerouting again." "The observers think they've found a high-density resource zone, but it's empty. We've confirmed the real colony coordinates are 50 light-minutes away. They're falling for it again." Aaron smiled. "Good, keep monitoring, but don't interfere further. Let them explore the decoys. They're learning what humans do best: persistence, intelligence, and creativity." This operation had evolved beyond simple defense. Humans were now playing a subtle, galaxy-wide game of anticipation and strategy. Every colony contributed, every team member played a role, and no action was taken without careful planning. It was a network of ingenuity that stretched across star systems. Meanwhile, the aliens grew increasingly confused. Their predictions of human behavior failed repeatedly. Strategies they thought would corner or outmaneuver humans led only to more misdirection. The intelligence that they had underestimated was no longer subtle, it was undeniable. The Erythians, who had initially warned the Council, observed from a distance with quiet satisfaction. They had predicted this outcome, but even they were impressed by the humans' methodical approach. While other species would have tried direct confrontation, humans had outmaneuvered potential threats without a single battle. One of the key moments came when humans introduced a new element into the puzzle: adaptive communication signals. These signals mimicked natural cosmic phenomena, but carried subtle patterns that humans could use to coordinate without being detected. Even the most sophisticated alien sensors failed to recognize them as deliberate transmissions. Humans effectively created a hidden language within the stars themselves. Colonies across different star systems began to operate in perfect synchrony, exchanging information faster than any alien species could interpret. Humans anticipated adjustments the aliens made to their monitoring stations and responded before the aliens could even act. Every subtle move reinforced the lesson: humans were not to be underestimated. Erin walked along the observation deck at night, watching the stars. She reflected on how far humanity had come, from fragile beginnings on a small planet to a civilization capable of shaping outcomes across the galaxy without firing a single shot. Persistence, adaptability, and ingenuity had become humanity's weapons, and every victory had been achieved without violating the principles of peace. Lyra approached her quietly. "Captain, the Council has requested another briefing. They want to understand how the humans manage this level of control without aggression." Erin nodded. "Prepare a full report. We will share the facts, but not the methods. Let them understand that humans are clever and persistent, and that cooperation will be more effective than confrontation." The council chamber was as grand as ever, filled with representatives from countless species. This time, humans were not just observers, they were participants. Erin presented the progress of human colonies, highlighting the efficiency, problem-solving, and innovation that had allowed humanity to thrive in previously unexplored regions. The delegates listened, many with astonishment. Some tried to argue that humans had only luck on their side. Others questioned whether such intelligence could persist over time. Erin responded calmly, showing data, examples of coordinated operations across star systems, and patterns of successful problem-solving. Every question was answered with logic and clarity, reinforcing the point that humans did not need brute force to influence outcomes. By the end of the briefing, the mood had shifted. The delegates realized that humanity was not a minor species, nor were humans fragile. They were unpredictable, intelligent, and patient, a combination that made them a force not to be underestimated. Even the most skeptical representatives acknowledged that humans' approach to challenges was unlike any other species. Back in the colonies, humans continued their work quietly. Their operations never paused. They improved systems, shared knowledge, and maintained the delicate balance of misdirection and observation. The galaxy had begun to respect them, but humans did not seek recognition. Their goal was simple: to survive, adapt, and thrive wherever they found themselves. It was in these quiet, patient moments that humans truly demonstrated their strength. They had learned to observe before acting, to anticipate before reacting, and to adapt faster than anyone else. The aliens who had once dismissed humanity as weak now understood the truth. Humans were hunters of challenges, masters of persistence, and innovators without equal. The final phase of the operation involved a subtle negotiation with the alien species. Humans did not demand territory or resources. They requested understanding, respect, and opportunities to contribute to galactic collaboration. The aliens, humbled by the humans' intelligence and foresight, agreed. Captain Erin Vilas looked out at the stars one last time before returning to the colony hub. The galaxy had changed. Humans had changed it, not with force, but with patience, intellect, and determination. They had proven that true strength did not require violence, only cleverness, persistence, and the courage to face the unknown with ingenuity. As the stars shimmered against the vast darkness, humans prepared for the next phase of exploration. Challenges awaited, but they were ready. After all, humans had already learned the most important lesson. In a universe of uncertainty, persistence and intelligence could overcome even the most formidable threats. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The galaxy had begun to see humans not as a young, insignificant species, but as clever, persistent, and adaptable. Their colonies stretched across star systems, each one a small hub of innovation, coordination, and subtle strategy. Humans did not flaunt their accomplishments, yet the results were undeniable. Other civilizations had begun to take note, learning that the species they had dismissed could outmaneuver even the most experienced strategists without a single act of aggression. Captain Erin Vilas stood on the observation deck of the central colony hub, her eyes tracing the patterns of star traffic. Ships moved smoothly between colonies, satellites circled planets, and resource-gathering operations proceeded with a quiet efficiency that no other species could match. Every system was part of a network of intelligence, observation, and coordination, invisible to those who did not understand human methods. Lyra Chen approached, holding a data pad filled with the latest monitoring reports. Captain, the aliens have begun to adjust their own strategies. They seem frustrated, confused, but not hostile. They're trying to interpret human behavior, but every prediction fails. Aaron nodded. Good. That means they're learning, even if they don't realize it. Every failed attempt teaches them one thing: humans cannot be underestimated. The task force had devised increasingly clever ways to maintain the upper hand. Decoy colonies, simulated communications, and even subtle environmental adjustments allowed humans to control the flow of information. Alien observers, confident in their superiority, were guided unknowingly into patterns the humans had anticipated weeks in advance. At the same time, humans continued to thrive independently. Colonies shared knowledge, technology, and innovations with one another. Each system became a mini-laboratory for problem-solving and resource optimization. The alien species that once doubted humanity could not deny the results. Humans were creative, disciplined, and consistent, qualities that no amount of advanced technology could substitute. Weeks passed, and a turning point approached. A major council meeting had been called, not to debate human weakness, but to understand their remarkable success. Representatives from dozens of civilizations gathered, curious, cautious, and increasingly respectful. Captain Vilas and her team were invited to present their findings, a rare honor for any species. The presentation began with data on colony efficiency, coordinated operations, and human problem-solving methods. Aaron spoke clearly, highlighting the key aspects of human ingenuity: observation, adaptability, and strategic patience. She described how humans could anticipate challenges, adapt to changing conditions, and coordinate across vast distances without centralized control. Every example reinforced the same lesson: humans were hunters, not of destruction but of opportunity and understanding. Some delegates were skeptical. One crystalline representative asked, "But how do you ensure long-term success? Is this level of coordination sustainable?" Aaron smiled. Sustainability comes from the very nature of humanity. We observe, we learn, and we adapt continuously. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every problem becomes an opportunity. That is how humans persist. The audience was quiet, listening closely. Even the most dismissive species could not argue with the results. Humans had achieved more than any had expected, not through force, but through cleverness, foresight, and cooperation. Meanwhile, across the colonies, human engineers continued their subtle operations. They monitored alien adjustments, anticipated their moves, and maintained control of the information landscape. Decoy communications, simulated resource findings, and controlled signals ensured that the aliens could never fully predict human behavior. Every observation became a lesson in human strategy, reinforcing the point that persistence and intelligence could triumph over brute strength. The Erythians, who had first warned the council, watched from a distance. They nodded quietly to one another, satisfied that their prediction had come true. Humans had not only survived, but they had mastered a form of strategy that no other species had considered possible. The Erythians had been right. Underestimating humans was dangerous. Captain Vilas convened a meeting with her senior team. "We've reached a point where the galaxy respects our abilities," she said, "but respect is not enough." We must now focus on shaping cooperation, ensuring that humans and other species work together to explore, innovate, and thrive. Our strength is our patience and our intellect. That must remain our guide. The team nodded. They had spent months navigating a complex web of observation, adaptation, and subtle strategy. Their efforts had shown that humans could influence outcomes without confrontation, demonstrating a form of power that no one had truly expected. As the council meeting concluded, the alien representatives approached humans, curious and cautiously respectful. They asked questions about resource sharing, coordination, and long-term planning. Humans responded clearly and calmly, offering insights without revealing every detail of their methods. Their approach reinforced a single point: humans were clever, patient, and persistent. Back on the colonies, the task force reflected on the journey so far. They had learned that intelligence and patience were the most powerful tools any species could wield. By observing carefully, adapting consistently, and anticipating challenges, humans had turned potential threats into opportunities for growth and cooperation. Captain Vilas stood once more on the observation deck, gazing at the stars. Each colony represented not just human presence, but human ingenuity. The galaxy had begun to recognize that humans were hunters, hunters of opportunity, knowledge, and understanding. They did not destroy, they outwitted, outlasted, and outplanned. In the quiet moments between operations, humans continued their work. Colonies expanded, technology improved, and coordination grew more sophisticated. The aliens who had once dismissed them learned, sometimes too late, that humans could not be underestimated. As the stars shimmered against the infinite darkness, Captain Vilas smiled. Humans had achieved something remarkable. They had proven that strength is not measured by firepower, but by intellect, perseverance, and the ability to adapt. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would endure for generations. Humans had not fought a battle, yet they had won. They had not sought recognition, yet they earned respect. And they had not used force, yet they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of what a species could achieve. The journey was far from over. New worlds, new challenges, and new opportunities awaited. But humans were ready, as they always had been, guided by the same principles that had brought them this far: patience, intelligence, and the quiet power of persistence. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again, and the humans themselves understood one enduring truth: the greatest victories are won not with weapons, but with wisdom, ingenuity, and unyielding determination.